Production. 4 years ago today, LeBron James left the Cavs for the second time, this time to join the Lakers. It's been a roller coaster, but he did lead LA to a championship back in 2020. Wendy, your thoughts on LeBron's time in LA so far?
Listen, I am a firm believer in the concept that once you raise a banner, it means never having to say you're sorry.
Well, there you go.
So it's a success as far as I'm concerned.
All right, then. That settles that. LeBron can coast the rest of the way in L.A. The status of the Nets' big three, as you may have heard, is somewhat unclear. Let's go through it. After being acquired midseason by Brooklyn in exchange for James Harden, who used to be part of the big three there, Ben Simmons did not appear in a single game and still has 3 years left on his contract. Kyrie Irving appeared to be the first domino to fall in what could have been an offseason where the trio stayed together when he opted into his player option prior to the start of free agency. But just days after Irving did that, Kevin Durant requested a trade from the Nets 3 years to the day after it was announced he was teaming up with Irving in Brooklyn. So a little sense of history there from Kevin Durant. It's nice when things are, nice and neat like that. Wendy, we got Kevin Durant. We were talking about anniversaries. So it's the wrong page. Do you think that Kevin Durant and Kyrie could end up in the same place?
Highly unlikely.
All right.
Not impossible. We just saw on Monday when Kyrie announced that he was going to opt into his contract. He said he wanted to finish his 4-year commitment to playing with Kevin, which is the first we'd heard of that, but it was a nice story. And then Kevin heard that and said, I want to be traded. So I think we can, I think it's dangerous to make assumptions about how these guys are thinking, especially if it changes day to day. But I think it's very likely that they are on different teams next year. Wouldn't surprise me if they're involved in the same trade, but it would surprise me if they ended up in the same team.
Right. So you were talking about that earlier, possibility of a three-team trade, try to make it
maybe
work. Maybe four. Whoever wants in on a trade, every more the merrier. But we're just showing about, Kyrie has mentioned the Lakers as a place he wants to go. We want to talk a little bit more, ask you a little bit more about how likely that possibility is.
Well, I think the thing with the Lakers, the advantage they have is that they aren't going to have too many preconditions from Kyrie. They have very few ways that they can upgrade their roster. They signed a number of players yesterday. Almost all of them are ancillary pieces. They're hoping that one or two of them end up being somewhat impact players. The only chance that they really have that we can see right now to get an impact player is to figure out a way to get Kyrie there. And, Kyrie and LeBron have had issues in the past. Right now, they would drop all of those issues because Kyrie would love to be a Laker and LeBron would love Kyrie to be a Laker. And the thing that really, I think, would attract the Lakers to this and why they may consider putting a draft pick into a potential trade, which is something they've resisted on Russell Westbrook discussions in recent months, is because it's only 1 year. They're not committing long term. When Kyrie wanted to talk about a sign and trade situation earlier this week, before he opted in, sign and trades are a minimum of 3 years. That's a little bit different of a conversation when you're talking about a guy like Kyrie Irving.
So obviously knocking it down to just the 1 year, people are a little less hesitant to take on.
At least the Lakers.
Right, a little less hesitant to take on all that comes with Kyrie. Look, after the dust settled following Durant's trade request, to the extent that it has, the Nets' odds to win the 2023 NBA Finals have gotten significantly longer, as you'd expect. While potential landing spots for Durant, like Phoenix and Miami, their odds have gotten shorter. Even the Lakers have seen their odds to win it all improve since that news broke. So we'll see whatever the next news is and what effect that has on the markets. But in the meantime, we have former NBA champion Kendrick Perkins joining the show. Perk, again, about 24 hours ago, we learned about KD's trade request. What was your reaction?
Yes, finally, Kevin Durant is making a stance, right? And I keep talking about this. I was talking about it yesterday on NBA Today. It was time for KD to think about KD. He's been having Kyrie Irving's back through thick and thin throughout this whole process and this whole short journey with the Brooklyn Nets. And Kevin Durant should not feel bad one bit. Here's the thing, right? This is a lesson to all the players out there that, a lot of guys out there that want to go team up with their quote-unquote brothers. Sometimes it's just not a good idea. Sometimes those friendships, leave them as friendships and not business partners because they don't work out as well all the time. But I'm happy for Kevin Durant. I'm glad he finally stood up, not only to, and stood up to something that he wanted to do, but to stand up to Kyrie Irving. That's what I'm most proud of KD about.
So, yeah, I mean, you figured those two are done. There's been some chatter about the two of them ending up on the same team next year. You don't imagine that's a possibility?
Nah, I mean, look, if Kevin Durant wanted to be his teammate, Kyrie Irving opted in. He could stay in Brooklyn right now and play with him. I mean, the writing is on the wall. I think what did it for Kevin Durant was when Kyrie Irving actually went out there searching, and when Kyrie Irving actually had phone conversations with LeBron James, when Kyrie Irving started reaching out, or his representation started reaching out to the Lakers to actually go there, then Kevin Durant was saying, you know what, if you go be, this is the loyal, the type of friends you're gonna be to me and show me that you can't be loyal, why should I be loyal to you anymore?
Yeah, I mean, look, it all sounded like such a great idea 3 years ago when they put it together, but now that it appears to be over, how would you summarize the KD and Kyrie era in Brooklyn?
A natural disaster. I think Tim Legler hit it right on the head yesterday. He said, you know, probably one of the greatest, one of the greatest failures in NBA history when you think about that they had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, all three guys in their prime, and they couldn't make it to the conference finals, let alone win the championship, and they couldn't get it together. We're talking about three of the most gifted offensive players to ever play the game of basketball was on the same team, and they got nothing accomplished but a whole lot of unnecessary drama. And so when you look at what happened and how it happened, it's one of the greatest failures in NBA history, as Tim Legler said yesterday.
One toenail away from that conference final, if I remember correctly, but did not get there, as you say. If you could pick for Kevin Durant, where would you want to see him next year?
I would like to see him with the Phoenix Suns. I would like to see him playing alongside Devin Booker and Chris Paul, but I also would like to see him being coached by Monty Williams. In my opinion, I love Scott Brooks. I love what Steve Kerr has brought to the game of basketball as far as his coaching, top 5 coaches. But I think Kevin Durant haven't been mentored by a coach like Monty Williams. We know that they're great friends and they're brothers or whatever the case you want to call it, but playing under Monty Williams, I think we will see the best version of Kevin Durant, and that's saying a lot. I think we will see his level of leadership go to another level. I think we will see his overall play go to another level. And thinking the fact that I could sit up here and just imagine Kevin Durant game going to another level is crazy to me. But I think it could under Monty Williams.
Yeah, that is saying an awful lot. Thanks, Perk.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be checking back in with you as this continues to unfold.